So, our first question is from a Catholic husband and father.
Am I supposed to guess?
No,
Is this
no, no.
no?
You just listen to
Okay.
my comments,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
He's an author and chastity speaker with whom you have collaborated on many
Could it be
projects.
Jason
Just
Everett?
watch.
Could
Just
it
watch.
be?
Just
All right,
see.
here we go.
Christopher and Wendy, congratulations on the 100th podcast. You guys are doing an amazing job for the church as always. In terms of a question for you today, I actually have two. First one, Christopher, what is your favorite ever story in the life of St. John Paul II? Any experiences you've had with him or stories you've heard about him? I want to hear that one. And then secondly, I had a priest back home in San Diego who once said that the spiritual life is all about strategies. And moments of temptation, things like that. And so one question I always get, I'd love to hear your reply on, is like, what's a good strategy in the very moment of temptation when you experience an attraction, a desire that you can't move forward on, whether it's a young person tempted on the internet or someone experiencing same-sex attractions or temptations in marriage, anywhere. What is something in that moment of temptation that someone can grab onto as a strategy for pursuing God and his will in their life? I look forward to hearing the answer. God bless you, and you guys keep up the wonderful work.
Well, thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Appreciate that. So first is a story of JP2, one of my favorite stories of
Yes.
JP2. Well, I can tell a couple stories from meeting him. Have we talked about this on the podcast?
I don't know.
I think I have some memory that we did this actually recently. But anyway, I met JP2 in 1995 when I was a student at the JP2 Institute.
Right.
And I told him I was a student at his institute, and he responded to me, student.
Oh, say it like JP2 said it.
Student.
There you
student.
go.
And then I still am a musician, and I had an album that I had recorded of my original music, which was called Pilgrim, which I gave to the Pope, and he said, Pilgrim. So those are the two words he said to me, student and pilgrim, when I met him in 1995. And then when I met him in 2001, I showed him a picture of you and our two children at the time. And he was much more interested in learning about our family than he was in learning about my work that I was also telling him about. So those were the takeaways in my personal encounters with John Paul II. Student and pilgrim and family, our family. But I think one of my favorite all-time stories of John Paul II, one that stays with me, is when it was the Jubilee year 2000, and John Paul II was, he said, and I forget where I read this, it might have been his letter probably was his letter at the close of the Jubilee. He said he would stand at his window and look out at the thousands and thousands of pilgrims who would walk through the holy doors at St. Peter's. And this was so telling. This is why I love it. It's so telling of his heart and the way he sees the person. He says, I would look out at the crowds and I'd look down at individual people. And he said, I would imagine the story of a life. I love that about John Paul II. He wasn't just looking at the crowd. He was looking at individual persons and imagining the story of their life. That's who he was. That's who he has taught me to be. And you can witness to this, that there'll be times when I'm driving and I look over at somebody in another car and I say, I wonder, who is that person? What is that person's story? What has this person been through? Or I'll be at a restaurant and I'll look across the restaurant at somebody looking at a menu and I'll just wonder, who is that? And what has this person suffered? What does this person hope for? What does this person long for? Anyway, I learned that from John Paul II, and it's a great blessing in my life.
Yes, I agree.
As far as strategies, this is Jason's second question.
Right.
Strategies in moments of temptation to remind oneself of the Lord and what's really important in life. I think it's so important that we understand that when we are tempted to do something we shouldn't do, there's some genuine human desire, but a counterfeit is holding itself out to us as the fulfillment of that desire. And I've taken it as a strategy in my own life when I'm faced with temptation to say, Lord, what is the real desire underneath this
Mm-hmm.
apparent desire? I apparently want this, or I wouldn't be tempted by it.
Right.
But there's something deeper I'm after, and this is holding out some false fulfillment of it. If I can get myself in touch with the real desire and open that to its genuine fulfillment, well, then the temptation loses its grasp on me. It doesn't have me anymore. And there are little psalms that come to mind, little lines from psalms that come to mind that really have helped me over the years. One is, I treasure your promises in my heart, lest I sin against you. What I love about that line in the Psalms is it's saying exactly what I just said. There is a real desire here that has a real fulfillment. That's his promise. His promise is he's going to fulfill the deepest desires of our hearts. So I treasure that in my heart. Lord, I treasure your promises in my heart, lest I sin against you. Because if I don't believe in these promises, if I don't treasure them in my heart, then I'm left to the idea that the fulfillment of my desires is up to me, and I got to take whatever I can get. And here I'm reminded of something my mentor said, Lorenzo Albacete. He said, every temptation comes down to one temptation. It's the temptation to believe that the fulfillment of the deepest desires of my heart is totally up to me. Lord, I treasure your promises in my heart is the antidote to that lie, because his promise is he wants to fulfill the deepest desires of our hearts. Jason, I hope that's helpful to you. I'm so grateful to know you, Jason. You've been a great collaborator over the years on all kinds of projects we've done together. And I'll never forget the first time Jason and I corresponded. It was the late 90s when he and I were both getting started in our work. And somebody told him, if I'm remembering the conversation rightly, somebody told him that he was like the Christopher West for teens or something like that, because I was going more after an adult audience. Jason, I know, also teaches to adults, but at the time he was doing mostly stuff for young people. Anyway, thanks, Jason.
Yes,
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you want to share it with people who need to hear this message, please do that, and consider subscribing to the channel.